June 6, 1944. The largest invasion fleet ever assembled is steaming straight into Hitler's fortress Europe. Over 156,000 men, more than 7,000 ships. One single decision away from total disaster or the beginning of the end of World War II. This is D-Day, the Battle of Normandy, and right now, you're about to live every heart-stopping minute of it. In the next 12 minutes, you're going to discover how terrible weather nearly canceled the entire operation, the incredible deception that fooled Hitler himself, why Omaha Beach became hell on earth, and how a few brave men turned the tide. You'll see exactly how this one day changed the course of the 20th century. Stick with me, because you won't believe how close we came to failure. By 1944, Hitler controlled most of Europe. The Soviets were fighting desperately on the Eastern Front, but they desperately needed a second front. Churchill and Roosevelt knew the time had finally come. They had to crack Hitler's Atlantic Wall and liberate Western Europe. The man chosen to lead it all was Supreme Commander Dwight D. Eisenhower. His opponent was the legendary Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, who was ordered to make the French coast completely unbreakable. The stakes were enormous. The entire war hung in the balance. Success meant the beginning of the end for the Third Reich. Failure could allow Hitler to drag the war on for years. For 2 full years, the Allies planned in total secrecy. But here's where it gets brilliant. They launched the greatest deception operation in military history, called Operation Fortitude. The idea was simple, yet genius. Convince Hitler that the real invasion would come at Pas de Calais, not Normandy. They created an entire fake army in southeast England called the 1st United States Army Group. This phantom army consisted of inflatable rubber tanks that could be blown up in 30 minutes, wooden dummy planes, and fake landing craft made of pipes and canvas. They moved these decoys at night so German reconnaissance planes would photograph them. They even broadcast thousands of fake radio messages every day. The masterstroke? They placed the feared General George Patton in command of this fake army. On top of that, double agents like the legendary Spanish spy Juan Pujol Garcia, known as Garbo, fed the Germans perfect lies through a network of 27 fictional spies. The result was astonishing. Even after the landings began on June 6th, Hitler remained convinced that Normandy was just a diversion. He kept his strongest panzer divisions waiting in Calais for the real invasion for weeks. That deception made victory possible, but nature itself almost destroyed the entire plan. The original D-Day was set for June 5th. Massive storms were rolling in from the Atlantic with powerful winds, high waves, thick clouds, and heavy rain. The English Channel would have been a death trap. The man at the center of this drama was Group Captain James Stagg, the chief meteorologist. On June 4th, Stagg told Eisenhower honestly, "If we launch on the 5th, it will be a disaster." Eisenhower made the painful decision to delay by 24 hours. But delaying was incredibly risky. Any longer delay would mean waiting another 2 weeks due to tides and moonlight. On the night of June 5th, Stagg returned with a narrow window of slightly better weather for June 6th. Eisenhower stood in silence for a full minute, then uttered the words that would change history. "Okay, let's go." At that moment, Rommel was back in Germany celebrating his wife's birthday, convinced the invasion was still weeks away. The trap was finally set. Just after midnight, over 18,000 Allied paratroopers and glider troops dropped behind enemy lines. Their mission was to seize bridges and create chaos. Many landed miles off target. Some drowned in flooded fields. But their incredible courage bought the beaches precious time. At 6:30 a.m., the greatest naval bombardment in history began. Then the ramps dropped. Utah Beach saw fast progress by the Americans. Gold, Juno, and Sword beaches were fiercely contested by British and Canadian forces. But Omaha Beach turned into a nightmare of steep cliffs, deadly crossfire, and chaos. Over 2,000 Americans fell in the first hours. American Rangers scaled sheer cliffs under heavy fire. Destroyers moved dangerously close to shore, nearly scraping the bottom, to blast German bunkers at point-blank range. Brigadier General Norman Cota famously shouted, "Rangers, lead the way." By nightfall, against all odds, the Allies had secured a foothold on every beach. The decisive moment came when the last German counterattack on June 6th failed. Hitler's Atlantic Wall had been cracked wide open. The longest day was over, but the Battle of Normandy had only just begun. Within weeks, nearly 2 million Allied troops poured into France. Paris was liberated. The road to Germany lay open. 11 months later, the war in Europe was over. D-Day alone didn't win the war, but it made victory possible. What if the weather hadn't improved? What if Hitler had released his panzer divisions earlier? What if the Calais deception had failed? Even today, military leaders still study D-Day for lessons in leadership, logistics, and courage under impossible pressure. Most people don't know that this victory owed as much to planners, code breakers, and ordinary soldiers as it did to the generals. D-Day was the day ordinary men became legends, the day the world stood together against tyranny. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button right now. Subscribe and turn on notifications because next we're diving into another legendary battle. Tell me in the comments, which battle should I cover next? Waterloo, Stalingrad, Thermopylae? Your choice decides the next episode. Never forget the longest day. Thank you for watching.